Evening. The council will come to order. We'd all please stand. We'll be led in prayer by President Pro Tem Joe DeLucia, please.
Almighty God, we ask for your blessing upon the members of this council as we assemble here in this chamber to conduct the ongoing business of our city. With your guidance, we will strive to ensure that all our decisions are for the common good and that your inspiration will instill respect, compassion, and thoughtfulness in all our deliberations. Give us the strength and wisdom to lead by example as the people's representatives, and a peace and harmony will mark all of our proceedings and keep us faithful to the trust placed in us by the citizens of your community. Amen.
Amen.
Alderman Singh, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adoption of minutes, November 4th and November 18th, 2024.
Thank you. At this time, I'd ask for a motion, please, for the adoption of the minutes as stated, November 4th and November 18th. Is there such a motion? Alderman Gould, is there a second? Alderman Mark Bettencourt. Is there discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Hayes?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt? Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Thank you. The motion passes 7-0.
Public hearing number 1, an ordinance appropriating $3,700,000 for the cost of the planning, design, and construction of the West Town Street Water Main Rehabilitation Project in the city of Norwich, authorizing the issuance of $3,700,000 revenue bonds of the city secured solely by water revenue to meet said appropriation, and authorizing the city and the Department of Public Utilities to enter into grant and loan agreements and a joint resolution with the state of Connecticut with respect thereto.
Thank you. At this time, I declare this public hearing to be open on ordinance number 1 this evening, and I would ask anyone wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance at this time. As in our custom, we have information to be shared from Commission on the City Plan to each part of the record of each ordinance.
Petition and communication on public hearing number 1, an ordinance appropriating $3,700,000 costs of the planning, design, and construction of the West Main Street Water Main Rehabilitation Project in the city of Norwich, authorizing the issuance of $3,700,000 revenue bonds of the city secured solely by water revenue to meet said appropriation, and authorizing the city and the Department of Public Utilities to enter into grant agreements and a joint resolution with the state of Connecticut with respect thereto. At the November 19th, 2024 hybrid meeting of the City of Norwich Commission on City Plan, the commission reviewed and discussed the above referenced referral. Seated were Frank Manfredi, Kathy Wazika, and James Cordo. After careful consideration, Kathy Wazika made a motion to forward a favorable recommendation to the City Council to approve the ordinance as it is consistent with the Envision 06360 plan of the Conservation and Development. The Connect Norwich Goal Number 2, Strategy C.2.1, maintain a high level of municipal infrastructure, specifically maintain and modernize NPU systems for electric, gas, sewer, and water. James Cordo seconded the motion. In favor, Frank Manfredi, Kathy Wazika, James Cordo. Against, none. Abstain, none. Frank Manfredi, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll begin. Anyone wish to speak in favor of this ordinance at this time, please approach the dais. You'll have 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the public record. Thank you. Again, anyone wish to speak in favor of ordinance number 1? Anyone wish to speak in favor of ordinance number 1? Again, anyone wish to speak in favor of ordinance number 1? Seeing no one in favor at this time, I would ask, is there opposition to ordinance number 1 at this time? Is there opposition to ordinance number 1 at this time? Is there opposition to ordinance number 1 at this time? Seeing no one wishing to speak in opposition at this time, I then declare public hearing number 1 to be closed. Thank you.
Public hearing number 2, an ordinance appropriating $7,500,000 for the cost of planning, design, and construction of the Norwich Town Well PFAS treatment system, authorizing the issuance of $7,500,000 revenue bonds of the City of Norwich secured solely by the water revenue to meet said appropriation, and authorizing the city and the Department of Public Utilities to enter into grant and loan agreements and a joint resolution with the state of Connecticut with respect thereto. Petition and communication number 2, an ordinance appropriating $7,500,000 for the cost of the planning, design, and construction of the Norwich Town Well PFAS treatment system, authorizing the issuance of $7,500,000 revenue bonds of the City of Norwich secured solely by the water revenue to meet said appropriation, and authorizing the city and the Department of Public Utilities to enter into grant and loan agreements and a joint resolution with the state of Connecticut with respect thereto. At the November 19th, 2024 hybrid meeting of the City of Norwich Commission on the City Plan, and the Commission reviewed and discussed the above referenced referral. Seated were Frank Manfredi, Kathy Wazika, and James Cordo. After careful consideration, Kathy Wazika made a motion to forward a favorable recommendation to the City Council to approve the ordinance as it is consistent with the Envision 06360 plan of the Conservation and Development. Connect Norwich Goal Number 2, Strategy C.2.1, maintain a high level of municipal infrastructure, specifically maintain and modernize NPU systems for electric, gas, water, and sewer. James Cordo seconded the motion. In favor, Frank Manfredi, Kathy Wazika, and James Cordo. Against, none. Abstained, none. Signed, Frank Manfredi, Chairman.
Thank you. Again, at this time, I accept comments. Those in favor of ordinance number 2. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of ordinance number 2 at this time? Again, your name and address at the dais, 3 minutes, please. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of ordinance number 2 at this time? Anyone wishing to speak in favor at this time of ordinance number 2? Seeing no one, I then request anyone wishing to speak in opposition to ordinance number 2 at this time. Opposition to ordinance number 2 at this time. Again, anyone wishing to speak in opposition to ordinance number 2 at this time. Seeing no one, then I declare that this public hearing is closed as well.
Number 3, an ordinance appropriating $2,400,000 for the cost of the planning, design, and construction of the Route 2 pipe replacement project, authorizing the issuance of $2,400,000 revenue bonds of the City of Norwich secured solely by the water revenue to meet said appropriation, and authorizing the city and the Department of Public Utilities to enter into grant and loan agreements and a joint resolution with the state of Connecticut with respect thereto. Petition and communication number 3, an ordinance appropriating $2,400,000 for the cost of the planning, design, and construction of the Route 2 pipe replacement project, authorizing the issuance of $2,400,000 revenue bonds of the City of Norwich secured solely by water revenue to meet said appropriation, and authorizing the city and the Department of Public Utilities to enter into grant and loan agreements and a joint resolution with the state of Connecticut with respect thereto. At the November 19th, 2024 hybrid meeting of the City of Norwich Commission on City Plan, the commission reviewed and discussed the above referenced referral. Seated were Frank Manfredi, Kathy Wazika, and James Cordo. After careful consideration, Kathy Wazika made a motion to forward a favorable recommendation to the City Council to approve the ordinance as it is consistent with the Envision 06360 plan of conservation and development. Connect Norwich Goal Goal number 2, strategy C.2.1, maintain a high level of municipal infrastructure, specifically maintain and modernize NPU systems for electric, gas, sewer, and water. James Quarto seconded the motion. In favor, Frank Manfredi, Kathy Wazika, James Quarto. Against, none, abstain, none. Signed, Frank Manfredi, Chairman.
Thank you. At this time, I would ask anyone wishing to speak at this ordinance number 3 public hearing in favor of it at this time. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of ordinance number 3 at this time? Again, anyone wish to speak in favor of ordinance number 3 at this time? Okay, we'll go on. Does anyone wish to speak in opposition to ordinance number 3 at this time? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition to ordinance number 3 at this time? Again, does anyone wish to speak in opposition to ordinance number 3 at this time? Seeing no one is interested, I then declare that this public hearing is closed as well. Thank you.
Number 4, an ordinance appropriating $800,000 for the purchase of land and existing buildings located within the city of Norwich and appropriation and authorizing the issue of $800,000 bonds of the city to meet said appropriation and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose. Petition and communication number 4, an ordinance appropriating $800,000 for the purchase of land and existing buildings located within the city of Norwich and authorizing the issue of $800,000 bonds of the city to meet said appropriation and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose. At November 19th, 2024, hybrid meeting of the City of Norwich Commission on City Plan, the commission reviewed and discussed the above referenced referral. Seated were Frank Manfredi, Kathy Wazika, and James Quarto. After careful consideration, James Quarto made a motion to forward a favorable recommendation to the City Council to approve the ordinance as it is consistent with the Envision 06360 Plan of Conservation and Development. Live Norwich Goal Number 3, Strategy L31, provide and maintain high-quality community facilities and public services. Specifically, continue to provide and maintain community facilities. Kathy Wazika seconded the motion. In favor, Frank Manfredi, Kathy Wazika, James Quarto. Against, none. Abstain, none. Frank Manfredi, Chairman.
Thank you. Again, at this time, I declare the public hearing on ordinance number 4 as proposed to be open at this time. And I would ask anyone wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance at this time. Again, please state your name and address, please.
Good evening, Patrick Daly, 142 Newton Street. I currently serve as a police chief in Norwich. I find myself in front of the council again, trying to find an answer to the emergent need of the police station, which has not gone away. A little history for those in the audience. In 2012, we tried, came up short. We tried again 2 years ago, and lost by 160 votes. We're coming today as purchasing the bank as part of the potential police station replacement. This vote here will not guarantee the project happens. It'll just give us the building to begin to plan and have public meetings on. The voters will have their say. They'll have their say in November of 2025, and they'll be involved in the input over the next 11 months. We plan to have a multitude of public hearings and keep the public involved and keep them up to date. We didn't arrive at this willy-nilly. I just want to kind of go over a little bit of the history. Some of the sites we've looked at, just a little bit, again, we looked at the current station. It will not take an addition cheaply, and it's still a postage stamp lot. Napa property on West Thames Street, the riverfront on West Thames Street, Jenkins Park on West Thames Street, Northern County Mutual on High Street, Thayer School Bus Property, Transportation Center, Christ Church, Mercantile Exchange, Thames Plaza, Simon Ford on North Main Street, Starwood on Norwich Avenue, Morosky Building across from the building we're in now, looking at now, Mahan Drive, Dodge Stadium, and Buckingham School, the old Buckingham School site in Washington. There's probably a total of 30 sites. They've all been rated by a citizens committee, and that remains our guiding document. The building on the Chelsea Groton property has been reviewed by the architect we've been working with since 2007, and it would be feasible to put the police station there. A couple years ago, they said, well, what's our plan B? I always tell the same thing I tell everyone. It's not going to get any better. Today, we have, the locker room heat was at 58 degrees. There's drilling going on, trying to keep the building as functional as possible, and it's just outlived its growth. Back when we got hired, we had 11 female officers with 10 lockers. Now we have 13 female officers with 10 lockers. It's time we move on this and follow the city's own plan where it says provide for adequate city infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Again, anyone else like to speak in favor at this time?
Good evening. My name is Robert Maloff. I live at 1 Coit Lane in Norwich. I'd like to speak in favor of the appropriation of the $800,000 for the Chelsea Groton Bank property. If for no reason, it's time to stop kicking the can down the road. Our police department deserves better than they have, and to this point, we haven't been able to get that done. $800,000 to secure that property, which again is a historic property in downtown Norwich, which is, I don't think you can find a better spot. I thought myself personally, I thought maybe the Buckingham School property, centrally located downtown, it just seems to make perfect sense to me. And again, as I said, it's time to stop kicking the can down the road. The price on a new police station, the price is not going to go down. It's going to continue to go up, and the longer we wait and the longer we push it down, it's just going to cost the taxpayer even more money. And again, our police department deserves better. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Again, anyone else like to speak in favor at this time?
Good evening. My name is Todd Postler, 53 Sherwood Lane. Mayor Nystrom, Manager Salamone, President Pro Tem DeLucia, and members of the City Council. In 1999, I served on this council till 2005. And they say that sometimes history repeats itself. I was here when we were trying to figure out what we were going to do for the police department. It's been a long time. I think the location in the downtown would be an appropriate place for the police department. I know it seems kind of strange. You purchase the property, then you have to ask the residents if they're going to approve. But I think this is a good plan and one that I would be in support of. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Again, anyone else like to speak in favor of this ordinance at this time?
Good evening. John Perry, Grant Court, Norwich, Connecticut. I also serve as the police captain of the City of Norwich Police Department. I'm up here today to, speak in favor of this funding. Excuse the jacket. In my office today, it was 66 degrees. I had difficulties typing, believe it or not. I shouldn't be complaining the men and women were out there in 40-degree weather. But it is time to do this. Being a lifetime resident of the city of Norwich, I can't think of anything, even paving the roads downtown in gold, that would bring and revitalize downtown Norwich, other than a police department. You can see it in Middletown, you can see it around the country. The agencies that go in their downtown area are successful downtown area businesses. Think of it this way. Think of the center of Norwich, downtown Norwich, as the heart, and all the veins that go out to Norwich Town, Laurel Hill, the east side. Those, you have to have a good heart in order to pump the blood out as well. But you got to start with the heart, and so I am in favor of the $800,000 bond. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Can anyone else like to speak in favor of the ordinance at this time? Can anyone else like to speak in favor of the ordinance at this time? Can anyone else like to speak in favor of the ordinance at this time? Okay, anyone like to speak in opposition of the ordinance at this time?
Good evening, Nick Cassiano, 27 Maplewood Court. So in 2021, the Norwich Town Council came to the taxpayers and asked for a bond to pay out the pension. That was $145 million. In 2022, the Town Council then asked the taxpayer for $320 million for new schools. 2023, they asked for $199 million in bonds for a new sewage treatment plant. And now we're asking for more money. Just on this, we see another $14 million in bonds. And then the $800,000 for the Chelsea Groton Bank building for the police, with no mention of how much it would cost to rehab it. I find it funny that they talk about it being cold in the police station when my taxes have gone up in double-digit percentages, and much of the taxpayers in the city of Norwich's taxes have gone up in double-digit percentages, where we have to keep our houses cold, and we're also cold because of this. So I think this all begs the question, when is it enough? I spent this summer knocking on doors as part of my campaign, and the number one issue with the people of Norwich was property taxes. How unsustainable it is for them, how they can't afford to live in their home because their mortgage went up $300 a month. I've received a text this morning from a homeowner in the city, and she asked, who's gonna pay for a new police station when all the working people have left? And she's not wrong. All this debt is leading us down a dangerous road that isn't sustainable. The council is trying to justify it as only $5 a year on our taxes, but it's a death by 1,000 cuts for the city. The council must take a hard look at all this spending and be good stewards of the people's money, else we'd be heading down a path of many Rust Belt cities whose tax base have fled high taxation and imposes a larger and larger tax burden on a smaller and smaller population. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Again, anyone else like to speak in opposition of this ordinance at this time? Yep, please.
My name is Joanne Philbrick, and I live on Elm Avenue. I am not here tonight to talk in favor or opposition. I am here tonight because I am so totally conflicted. I oftentimes come up here and I talk to you about truth, trust, and transparency. I've spent the greater part of today trying to find answers to a variety of questions. Everywhere I went, I was stonewalled. Why do you want to know? Because it's my right and your responsibility. I did find out some very interesting things, though, in my quest. The bank building is appraised at $1.7 million. We have the opportunity to buy it for $800,000. So I did a Freedom of Information Act request. I could find no information at all about where and when this price was negotiated. And those are the words that the comptroller uses, that the deal was negotiated. Where is the trust? Where is the transparency? It saddens me. I'm 82 years old. I've worked hard all my life. When I moved to Norwich 20 years ago, I was full of excitement and anticipation. I can't afford to live here anymore. My house is paid for. I can't afford to live here. I don't want to live here. It's dirty. It's not safe. Am I the only one that thinks like this? Because I'm vilified You can't even look me in the face. You can't even look me in the face. Charlatans. Stacy, you are amazing. You are amazing. You and I don't always agree, but you will answer my questions. Bill, you're pretty much, we argue a lot, but the rest of you, you poke the bear, and then you sit back and enjoy the damage. Yes, we need a new police station. But what we need even more than a new police station is true vision, leadership, and a plan. When the new taxes hit the fan, no one will want to live here except for the slumlords, the Section 8s, the illegals, and all the other nefarious people. Like I said, I'm conflicted. I don't know. But it's gonna be a really hard sell. It's sad. And not one of you reaches out to me. Not one of you. So I will close by saying in the 20 years that I have come here, I have attended 1 million public hearings. And it doesn't matter what the people say because you've already made up your mind. So do what you have to do.
Thank you. Mrs. Philbrick? Would anyone else like to speak at this time in opposition? Please.
Sam Browning, 671 Scotland Road, Norwich, Connecticut. This is not so much speaking in opposition, but I did read the one-page briefing which our comptroller prepared, and maybe I'm missing something, but can we share this evening what the best estimate is for this work in terms of the renovation cost of the property? I mean, I know that maybe the final plans are not completed, but I think the taxpayer really has a right to know this information. And as I said, I don't have a position as to pro or against, but I think this is a really crucial question. I mean, is it 40 million, 50 million? Oh, if you say we don't know, I'm like, okay, I know a lot of this planning has been happening in executive session. I don't have any access to that. But I think it's, at the time, I think the taxpayers really should know. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Again, ma'am, please.
Wendy Barrett, Burkhardt Street, Norwich, Connecticut. I have to agree with Joanne Philbrick here. It's only $800,000 you're asking for, but how much more is it going to really be? Transparency. She said the price of the building was $1.7 million. Are we going to end up paying $1.7 million? Another thing, I don't know what the current square footage is of our police station right now. What's the square footage of Chelsea Groton Bank compared to that? And what's it going to cost to revitalize that building or whatever they have to do to get it up to code or whatever for the police? I'm in favor of a new police station. But you people are not transparent. You don't lay your cards on the table, what you have. I don't think it's fair for the taxpayers of this city. We pay. Especially senior citizens who are on a fixed income. You wait till you get there. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else like to speak in opposition of the ordinance at this time?
Dave Addis, 109 Whittington Avenue, Norwich, Connecticut. Unfortunately, where are you people getting these ridiculous ideas? What makes you think that anybody in this room is going to agree to a Looney Tune proposition that you came up with, especially the figure that this lady here had come up with? Apparently you have problems with someone like her or anybody in this room speaking the truth to your faces. You turn yellow and you walk the other way because you know you don't have any answers. We're not your personal ATMs. Face reality, every single last bloody one of you. This is reality that we're living in, not your fantasy world. Did you ask us if we wanted to have more money taken out of our pockets for this latest mouse project that you're coming up with? Did you ask any of us? I can see I'm not getting any answers. So yes, the truth is a weapon, and it's a weapon that none of you can face. A new police station is one thing, but all of you, how are you not ashamed of yourselves for taking advantage of who is left in this ghetto town? How are any of you not ashamed of yourselves right now for what you're doing? All you're doing is robbing us. This is a hard time month for everybody and anybody. And unfortunately, some of us know what that's like. And you're making things worse. You're making the wrong decisions, but you better learn that the choices you make are going to have consequences, and those consequences will find a way to get you, one way or the other. I try to sleep at night myself, knowing that I have to drive halfway across this damn state to get to a job that I don't work at many days at. As for Rocky over there, Rocky's a great friend. I talked to him last weekend. I feel sad for this lady right here that she has to leave, but you're making her make the choice to want to leave the ghetto. I'm going to ask you one more time. How in the hell are any of you not ashamed of yourselves for the atrocities that you're committing against everybody in this town that's left? I think I have the right to have an answer now. Which one of you is going to step up to the plate? Who wants to answer?
Your chance here is to speak to us about how you feel. We do not go back and forth, sir. I will speak for the council right now.
Isn't that just like a Democrat?
I'm not a Democrat, sir.
Hey.
Anyone else like to speak in opposition at this time?
I'm Dan Addison, I'm his twin brother. I unfortunately live at the same address that this pathetic ghetto has. I truly am inclined to agree with Joanne here. There's going to be a mass exodus of Lord knows how many people, whether it's 200, 300, or 1,000 that are going to leave this ghetto. And it's all because of you. I noticed coming in here, some of those so-called farcical properties that have the words paid on them. How much of the properties that have been paid for, how much of that money is going into your pockets? How much of the money from the sale of those joke properties is going right into your pockets right now? How much? I think there's people in this room have the right to know that. Because that money from those properties, those jokes that you're selling, deserves to go right the hell back to the pockets of the people. And not into your pockets, because you, as far as I'm concerned, have done nothing to earn it. You have done nothing. As Stevie Wonder says, you haven't done nothing. And another song says, you're talking loud, and yet you're saying nothing. I, for one, am not against a police station, but what I am against is you not having the guts to tell these people how much is going to come out of their pockets. That's where you don't have the guts, obviously, including me. Which brings you to another point. Rocky, at one time, brought up the issue as to why the hell these taxes on the houses are going up by 1,000, if I'm correct, Rocky. Tell me if I'm wrong, or if it's something else. Do me a favor, Rocky.
Sir, you're addressing the council, not people in the audience.
I'm addressing him, and I am addressing you. And I will not be disrespected by you interrupting me that way. I'm the son of a Vietnam veteran. My old man told me never to take disrespect from anybody, and that includes you. Now I want to know, like I said, I want to know what it's going to cost these people, or if you're willing to accept another mass exodus of people that are going to be leaving this town, going to the outside of Connecticut and saying that your town is a joke, and you're the ones who made it that way. And soon, no businesses or anybody in their right mind will not want to set up in this ghetto, despite the fact that you're living in a fantasy world. You want fantasies? Go move to Disney World and leave the rest of us alone. You can pay for that fantasy out of your own pockets, but these people are not going to be the ones to pay it for you. As far as I'm concerned, your ticket is cashed, and your tickets are not valid anymore.
Thank you, sir. Pietro?
assume I have to tell you my name under duress, I will.
Please.
Even though I don't agree with it. It's infringing on my civil liberties and my First Amendment. My name is Pietro Rocchi Camardella, 79 Lambert Drive. I've lived there for 39 years, and Yantic before that. I was not going to speak tonight because I'm really, really getting tired of the same modus operandi. You're going to buy property. We don't know why, how, whatever. We'll figure it out. Now you'll come up with $30, $40, $50 million we have to agree to spend. I'm sure you all already know. It's all done already. This is a charade. I was not going to talk except after I heard the lovely lady here, which you disrespect often because you have no care for the citizens. You know what? You're going to be knocking on doors soon because you're going to want to run again. Please vote for me. Please vote for me. And then you get elected. The heck with the lady. The heck with the gentleman. You have no shame. This is freedom of speech. I'm allowed to say it. I'm not cursing. But the truth is you have no shame to keep asking money from people that can't afford it. I said on the air, Rocky Radio Show, by the way, in case you want to tune in, this past Saturday, why am I getting for $1,000 more a year on the taxes on a modest home? I don't have car garage. I don't have a swimming pool. $1,000 more, it's a lot of money. Yeah, you shake your head, it's a lot of money. But you keep spending. Are we for a new police station? Heck yes. Chief Daley there, they deserve a new station. But I said on the air, how about if July 1st, 2024, we reduce my taxation down $2,000? If you knew what you were doing, we would have reduced our taxation. We would have been happy to spend money. But $1,000 more, and another this, and another that. You know what? I'm really, really considering selling the house, moving out, and if I sell my house, I want to lose 20, 30 grand just to get out of here. Does that make you happy? Good. Maybe we'll do that. But please understand, many people don't speak because they're afraid of your tyranny. And I see on the agenda you amended the rules. I can't wait to hear it. Where is the citizens' input on the rules that you're going to amend? Where is the citizen input? Did you ask anyone?
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to speak at this time in opposition to the ordinance before us? Yeah, please, sir.
Ron Fogg, 34 Rogers Road. I wasn't going to speak at all, but I just want to kind of get the bottom line is we don't mind paying taxes. It's just, there's so much waste. Maybe, do you need better people to bring better businesses in? Is that what it is? Because you're hurting us, and we don't get anything for it. Not that we want something for it. Really don't mind paying taxes. Really don't. I've been on my property for 30-something years without a house. I'm building a house now. I was paying over $1,000 a month property tax. And of course now it's gone up a lot higher, and with the new house, and I do good enough, I can handle, we really don't mind it. That's the taxes and regulations, all that is not the problem. We just see it's not going to the right place, it seems. Am I right? Do you need better businesses here? What is the problem? I know a lot of people moving out. I guess you don't answer us. That's okay. And I don't see any reason why we can't talk to people in the audience. What's the problem with that? You do work for us.
Thank you, sir. And would anyone else like to speak in opposition to the ordinance before us, please?
I would like this council to put in writing and have a nice, beautiful article, maybe in the Bulletin or the Day, or whatever paper you can, and maybe you should put it in a letter to all the citizens and taxpayers in this city, what you plan on doing with this $800,000 and how much more it's going to be and what you're purchasing and the plan for the purchase and how much that's going to cost. That's going to be another fiasco like the last police department. You purchase the land, what happened to that money? Are you going to sell that property now to put towards this property? As taxpayers, we deserve some answers. We don't get them here. You're just listening to us, and that's about all. And when we turn around and walk away, you say, good riddance. Well, we're going to say good riddance to you when you're up for re-election.
Thank you.
I just want to say one more thing. The only reason I do good is because I just got done working now. I work probably 12 hours a day, average.
Thank you. Again, anyone else like to speak in opposition at this time to the ordinance? Anyone else in opposition to the ordinance at this time? Again, anyone else in opposition? Rodney, please.
Good evening, Rodney Boyd, 62 Roosevelt Avenue. I've lived here for 62 years. And one of the things I would like to know is an estimate of how much this police station is supposed to cost. I've done this for the Navy. These people that talked did a good job. That's why I waited. Now, if this is going to cost $40, $50 million to build, I'd like to know that. Just an estimate. $40, $50 million? I'm not in favor of it. I pay a lot of taxes, just like these people do. But I'm 83, and I'm not going to be a landlord much longer. I've been a landlord for 62 years also. The house I live in on Roosevelt Avenue is overtaxed, and I can afford it. I can afford it because I've lived there a long time. And most of the stuff that I have is paid for because I've been very frugal. I pay attention to all of these things. Now, you can't just keep raising taxes in this town. I realize that if you pay taxes too much, business go away. You've heard me speak before on other things like that. I watched Pratt Whitney bring a whole bunch of people from Hollywood, Florida. They brought a whole company up to East Hartford just because of the taxes. Now, you can raise taxes, but I'd just like to know how much these things cost. Not just to me, but for the people of the state of Connecticut. It's easy to borrow money. I've made a business of myself. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Again, anyone else like to speak in opposition at this time? Anyone else like to speak in opposition at this time? Anyone else like to speak in opposition at this time? No one else, I then declare the hearing closed. Thank you all. Sir, you already spoke. Thank you. The hearing is closed. No one raised their hand, no one called out, and I scanned the room thoroughly. Thank you.
Reading and possible action on the above ordinance previously presented. Number one, an ordinance appropriating $3,700,000 for the cost of planning, design, and construction of the West Town Street water main rehabilitation project in the city of Norwich, authorizing the issuance of $3,700,000 bonds of the city secured solely by water revenue to meet said appropriation, and authorizing the city and the Department of Public Utilities to enter into grant and loan agreements and a joint resolution with the state of Connecticut with respect hereto.
Thank you. At this time, I'd ask for a motion to bring this to the floor for consideration. Alderman Bettencourt, second by Alderwoman Gould. Is there discussion? Alderman Bettencourt.
I just ask the general manager from NPU to come up.
Certainly. By yourself.
Hi, Chris LaRose, General Manager, Norwich Public Utilities.
Chris, might as well kill three.
My work address is 16 South Golden Street, Norwich, Connecticut, 100 Morgan Road, Salem, Connecticut.
On the, might as well kill three birds with one stone here. What's the rationale for these ordinances?
Okay, right now we have three ordinances to significantly improve our water system. The one we're talking about right now is a repair of a 24-inch main. We have two parallel feeds that come in from our reservoir at Deep River, and one of them failed in 2020. The pipe is 20 feet deep. It has encroaches on a railroad and a state state easement. So it's very difficult to repair. It wasn't something we could do at a time, so we've lost redundancy. We have the ability to get this repaired with a 20-year loan and grant agreement. We're expecting a 30% grant for this, so this is a typical project that hasn't been funded in the past because of priority points. This year it was able to be funded, and it's the right time to get this repair fixed and restore more redundancy to our water system.
So you're saying the state is funding a portion of this?
Yes, 30% over 20 years. 30% grant, and the rest is a low-interest loan, 2% over 20 years. This was in our capital plan. We have the ability to get it done now at a much better value for the customers.
Thank you.
Okay. Would you like to hear about the other two now, or do you want to wait?
Do you? It would save time?
It would save time with the permission of the whole council, and you agree to that. Please go ahead.
All right. One of the other projects is our Norwich Town well treatment facility, and this is a well that provides emergency water. It's only brought online when it's needed, when we have a major main break or we have any other issues with our two reservoirs that are active. This well can draw 1.33 million gallons a day, and in 2022 we found we had an exceedance of PFAS chemicals in that well, just slightly over the newly lowered limits. These are forever chemicals. They're found in firefighting foam, waterproofing materials, a lot of Teflon pans, a lot of things we're using now. We are putting in for a treatment for that well so we can use it at any time when it's needed. This is a 70% grant, 30% loan. So the state is significantly funding this. We'll get it over 20 years. It's, once again, something we need to do. It was in our plan. The requirements changed. We can't use the well now. We need to get this designed and allow us to use the well again. And the last project is getting a piece of pipe replaced on Route 2 out near Stonington Road. This is a 3/4-inch galvanized line that was installed in 1952, and this is being required to be replaced due to the lead and copper rule. We are replacing all known lead and copper pipes in our system that have soldered lead joints. This is a requirement to get this taken out of our system. This is going to be something that right now we have insufficient fire suppression out in that section of the of Route 2, and this will replace it with an 8-inch modern ductile iron pipe. This one here is also at a 70% grant, 30% loan, so we're expecting, this to be, it's a requirement we have to get out of our system. Now's the time to get this done, and we can get it done with a very significant grant.
Thank you.
Thank you. Members of council, President Pro Tem.
Thank you. Hi, Chris, how are you?
Very good, Joe. Thanks.
How long have we known that these three projects needed to be undertaken?
All right, so the pipe, we failed in 2020, so we've known about that, since then.
3.5 years?
Yeah, 3.5 years. At that time, we're in the middle of COVID. We were doing significant belt tightening. We did not know where we would be financially and how we came out of that. Also, there was no matching funds at that time for a project like that. Now we have significant grant and the ability to pay for it. This was in our long-term plan, and it needs to be done anyways, and this is the most cost-effective way of doing it. The PFAS regulations changed last year. That's when we were told we were no longer able to use the well, when we had an exceedance, and the detectable limits, allowable limits came down. So that was last year. And the Route 2 galvanized pipe replacement, those lead and copper rules just went into effect last year. We had to complete our assessment by October of this year, and then we have to start doing actual measures to remove any that we have. So this has been in the last year.
Just one quick, we knew about the water flow issues out there for quite a while, though.
Yeah, since the apartments went in, that was when it was essentially identified, when we had our first major apartment complex off of that line.
So it's
Right, 20 years ago.
So it's fair to say that if we kicked this can down the road 25 years and went to multiple bonding referendum, even though they're not required on these projects, but if we had, and they failed multiple times, that it would be a significant public health issue for the residents of the city.
Absolutely. The Route 2 pipe, if that fails and it's a 3/4 inch galvanized line, then we don't have water to customers out there. So that becomes an emergency that we have to fix, in the middle of the night type of a repair. The 24-inch main coming from our Deep River plant, we have two lines that are redundant, and we're just making it with the flows that we have. This allows redundancy in case we do have any future failure. And this being so deep, because construction has happened since the pipe was installed, 20 feet deep, that's not an easy repair at all. That would be probably a week-long repair, depending on where it failed in that area, if we had, where the other one failed.
So I'm not asking your personal opinion, although you might have one, but I guess I would ask you, is it fair to say that similar to, public safety, a community's drinking water supply is among the top tier of things that we need to protect and maintain, and occasionally spend millions of dollars on to keep safe?
Absolutely. We have a very old system. We're continually upgrading that system. These are three projects that were planned in our long-term capital plan. They have the ability to get financed now. Do not know if this funding will ever be available to the same levels going forward. This has been a period of time when many projects that didn't meet that threshold are now meeting the threshold. I don't think it'll be there in a few years.
So to put it in simple terms, we have to strike while the iron is hot and the funding is available.
Absolutely.
And in a way that could be construed to saying we're getting a deal on these projects because we're getting help from the state of Connecticut that is not coming out of the residents' pockets directly.
5 years ago, we were not seeing any projects being funded north of 25 to 30%. We have two projects here that are expected to be funded at more than 70%. It's a great deal right now.
All right, well, I certainly do not have the expertise that you do, but it is plain to see that these are projects that need to be undertaken now. They cannot be kicked down the road. Okay, they can't be the can, I should say, that gets kicked down the road. They need to be, we need to strike while the iron is hot, and we need to get these things done, to maintain our water quality and our water safety.
Yeah, so it's reliability, it's safety. This is the only product that we have that our customers ingest. It's a critical piece of our infrastructure, and it's the best value the customers will ever have by doing it now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Further, yes, Alderman Singh.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question. So, of course, they're all secured solely by the water revenue, so it don't have any fiscal impact on the property taxes. But do we have any kind of like schematic to tell us what will be the impact on water bill? Is it like slow and steady over the next 10 years, or?
We have put into place we do our water, electric, and gas rates in 3-year increments. That was passed by our board in September, went into effect in November. And in water, we're expecting 8.5% roughly for the next 3 years increases.
Okay.
This project does not increase it, and there will be no changes to the approved rate increases for the next 3 years due to these projects.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Other members at this time? Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Again, the matter before is ordinance number 1. Is there further discussion or questions at this time? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Hayes?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Thank you. The ordinance is adopted. Vote is 7-0.
Number 2, an ordinance appropriating $500,000 for the cost of the planning, design, and construction of the Norwich Town Well PFAS treatment system, authorizing the issuance of $7,500,000 revenue bonds of the City of Norwich, secured solely by water revenue to meet said appropriation, and authorizing the city and the Department of Public Utilities to enter into grant and loan agreements, and a joint resolution with the state of Connecticut with respect thereto.
Thank you. At this time, I'd ask for a motion to bring it to the floor. Alderman Singh, second Alderwoman Gould. Is there discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Hayes?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Thank you. Ordinance number 2 is adopted, 7-0.
Number 3, an ordinance appropriating $2,400,000 for the cost of the planning, design, and construction of the Route 2 pipe replacement project, authorizing the issuance of $2,400,000 revenue bonds of the City of Norwich secured solely by water revenue to meet said appropriation, and authorizing the city and the Department of Public Utilities to enter into grant and loan agreements, and a joint resolution with the state of Connecticut with respect thereto.
Thank you. At this time, I'd ask for a motion to bring it to the floor. Alderwoman Gould, second Alderman Singh. Is there discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Nash? Alderwoman Hayes?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Thank you. Ordinance number 3 is adopted. The vote is 7-0.
Number 4, an ordinance appropriating $800,000 for the purchase of land and existing buildings located within the city of Norwich, and authorizing the issue of $800,000 bonds of the city to meet said appropriation, and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose.
Thank you. At this time, I'd ask for a motion to bring it to the floor. Alderwoman Gould, is there a second? President Pro Tem, thank you. Is there discussion? Alderman Bettencourt and Chief, I think if you could join us at the dais, identify yourself. There were questions asked by people in the gathering here tonight, and I'm sure council members have questions as well. Thank you. Alderman Bettencourt, you have the floor.
Yeah, pretty much on the money there. Obviously, we heard some of the comments, and I think we talked briefly prior to the meeting, and I think some of the concerns that myself and others had, that some of this information hasn't been disclosed publicly. So as far as a potential project goes, I mean, we know we're talking about another police station here. What what do you have as far as numbers for an estimate as far as what a potential project might cost?
Preliminary estimates of the three projects that went into the final review, which is Chelsea Groton Bank, Buckingham Memorial, the old Buckingham, not Buckingham Memorial, Buckingham School, Washington Street site, and the Mahan Drive site. It's approximately 49 million for Chelsea Groton Bank, approximately 50 million for the Mahan Drive site, but that doesn't include the 30 acres. The city did not purchase the 30 acres behind it, so that price would have to get renegotiated. And the Washington Street property is approximately 57 million. So it's the cheapest of the projects. But as we've been saying before, we want to get the public involved in the planning process, so that figure will change between now and the time we go to the actual voters, to come back to the council to present it to the voters. So there's a chance for that number to fluctuate.
Have we discussed the possibility of any grants with anyone?
Yes, there's multiple funding sources. We've had long discussions with the state delegation, working closely with the Department of Economic Development, the Community Investment Fund, and then straight up state bonding. This is a good time to echo Chairman LaRose's, General Manager LaRose's things. There's money available at the state level that's never been available before. Alderman Betancourt was on the council in 2012 when there was no money available for this project. Now the possibility exists for three funding streams from the state: DECD money, CIF money, and state bonding. And there's also congressionally directed spending available at the federal level. So there's multiple funding sources, and with this purchase, we'd be able to have go aggressively after this money, because now the city has the proverbial skin in the game. The city has put their foot forward. Their funding cycles are just starting. The legislative session is just beginning. So it's our hope that we can have some funding allocations to the voters prior to the vote in November.
No. Other aldermen have questions of the chief at this time? Alderwoman Gould, thank you.
Just went right out of my head.
I hate when that happens.
Gosh. It's just come back to me.
Do you want me to repeat the amounts?
No. My question,
You would like to know those amounts. Then you go again. You dictators as usual. Just the numbers.
For the record, the chief stated approximately 49 million for the bank site. Mahan Drive, I think, was a little over 50, but again, he acknowledged the fact that the city never bought the land, as was stated earlier, and that would still have to take place. There was no expense there. And I believe you said the school property was the highest. I thought you said 57, an estimate, and that has to do with the fact that it's the hill, the terrain, and basically the topography causes much more expense. I believe those were the three.
And these estimates, while they're estimates, are valid, and they'd be valid through the construction cycle of the building. So if inflation is factored into this at the current inflation levels, so any price escalation would be factored in. So there shouldn't be a need to come back. The architect we use and the price estimator he uses prides himself on having safe numbers, so there's not a return to the voters for putting the proverbial hand out again. So these are our safe numbers, which should be through the entire construction span of the building. And another thing, because it's an existing property and it's an addition, it would, the move-in time goes from 24 to 36 months down to probably 18 months after construction begins. And it would be our goal to start, to have the proverbial golden shovel in the ground as quick as possible to lock in those prices. So in case the economy fluctuates, we can lock in our prices with construction contracts.
Thank you. Alderwoman Gould? Yeah.
it's all back now. If we purchase the bank building, what are we planning on doing with the present police station once this deal has been consummated?
That is a political decision for the council or the city manager. but we'd have no interest in maintaining anything there, so that would become, in theory, available to other city agencies or for sale. But that is a council manager level decision, not a police chief level.
Okay, but we're not thinking about any use, everything that the police station has on Thames Street now would go to a new location?
Yes.
Okay. If we don't own the building, are we eligible to seek grant funding?
Yes and no, you can try, but they like to see a local commitment for a lot of these grant projects. The state, a lot of towns and cities and towns come with the proverbial pie in the sky grant applications, so they go way down the list. But CIF, especially CIF Community Investment Fund, which sunsets in 2030, they're looking at doable projects. Skin in the game and a project that's doable with a serious municipality. Norwich has had an excellent reputation with Kevin Brown's efforts, and there's even a CIF resolution here tonight. And we've done very well recently in getting CIF grants because we're getting the money out the door. So that's a funding source, and it's an interesting funding source. You can get state bonding, and you can get CIF. You can get CIF awards over multiple years. You could get it on round 7, 8, and 9, round 7, round 9, round 10. But the problem is that money's going away in 2030. The state has money now, and it's not always going to have money. Or then we were back in the 2012 situation where every dollar was tax dollars. And, but we have the ability to get state bonding funding and community investment fund money. And also, for congressionally directed spending, you have the option to, Congressman Courtney could have a grant, and then Senator Blumenthal and Murphy, they can cover renovations for government facilities that's not available to the congressman. So that would be an option for renovations once we own the building. We can't renovate a building we don't own.
And my last question, the architect that you've been working with?
Humes, he's known throughout New England and most of the East for doing police stations. He's been with us since day one. Very, very well respected. He's going to be getting an award from the Connecticut Police Chiefs in 2 weeks for the work he's done for the police departments. He would have been here tonight. He apologized, but he had a conflict. But he's the gentleman with glasses who, whenever we talk like stuff, who usually sits in the audience. You'll see him if this passes and if you see a way to making this a potential, you'll see him at the public hearings.
Thank you.
I just have a request.
Alderman Bettencourt.
Could we possibly, release the information that we have publicly, share it with the media and stuff? Is that?
Certainly. Alderman Singh.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chief. Just if you can highlight or if you can share some of the advocacy efforts that we are doing to get the grants or we plan on getting.
Well, yes, I can.
And the
tomorrow at 2:30, we're having with a bipartisan effort, we're having the Deputy Commissioner of the Department of Economic and Community Development, DECD, Commissioner Puglisi, who used to be a CIF director. He's coming to town. He's going to tour the site, and we're going to talk over potential funding sources from the state with him. We're starting early. We hope it's not for naught. We're trying not to count our chickens. We don't want to count people think that we're doing things, getting out over our skis, but the timing is crucial, and government doesn't wait for anybody. If someone doesn't get this, if we don't have our hand out, that money's going to go somewhere else. So I don't want to look like we're counting our chickens or anything like that before they hatch, but we want to get on this immediately, so we're in the process there. And then we've also met with the delegation, especially Representative Wilson and Senator Austin multiple times throughout this process.
Also, if it passes, what plans do we have for voter engagement?
Voter engagement, at least monthly meetings. They have to make a station that the community feels comfortable in. I think everyone feels the need, even the people in the audience here. I don't think anyone's questioning the need, it's the price. And again, the price is the price. I'd be more upset as a taxpayer, which I've been for my entire life, if we're wrong, we'll have to come back for money. So, we're trying to get the best station we can at the cheapest price possible. But the need is real, and it's not getting any cheaper, and every year that can is kicked down, it just gets worse. If you remember, a lot of the public meetings, this one at the senior center specifically, there's probably a YouTube video of it out there. Someone asked, well, what's your plan? What are you going to do if this fails? I said, I don't know, but I can tell you it's going to be more expensive.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other members? Yeah, Alderwoman Hayes, please.
I don't really have a question for you, Chief, but you can stand there and there may be something that you choose to answer. And I'm being clear in my mind because I understand and I support, as many people said this evening, that a police station is needed. It has been needed in the city. I understand the cost will continue to escalate. But I also understand tonight we're being asked to purchase a building for $800,000 that we have not gone out and asked the voters if they would support a bond, 49 million or above, to build a police station. So it's not about a police station for me. It's about asking us to put up $800,000 to purchase a building that's currently a commercial building. Question I may have, and it's not probably to you, but maybe to the mayor or the city manager, are there other people knocking at the door of Chelsea Groton Bank to purchase? I do know that there was one other group that was looking at it, and I don't know if there have been others. We're being asked to put up money to purchase a building, to own it for at least a year until next November, until the voters could decide whether they want to approve a bond for a new police department. I've read what the comptroller has put forth as to what he estimates this will cost us as a city. And yet I've heard, not just tonight, I've heard all weekend long, most people are frustrated with paying one more dollar on a for a bond for the city to purchase anything. I take pride in living in the city of Norwich. I sometimes get upset as to how I hear it categorized, as I heard this evening. I look at this city, and I've lived here long enough. I was not born here, but I've lived here long enough to know that the reason many people have stayed, some have retired and left. We have new people coming in, and that's normal for a city. But many people have stayed because they believe in this city and they still want to see this city prosper. But at the same time, they can't afford to keep paying tax after tax after tax, and I understand that. Right? So like I said, it's not about not wanting to support the police station. I believe we need a new police station. The question tonight is about putting out $800,000 to purchase a building that the city is going to own if it's purchased for a year, not knowing what the voters are going to vote, and that is going to cost money. Let's say no police department is built there. We're still going to own a building that we still have to pay for. And that's what I've heard all weekend, that taxpayers, property owners have said commercial businesses are not paying the fair share of the property taxes is being borne on the homeowners, and they've said enough is enough. So I will be voting no.
Okay, thank you, Alderwoman Hayes. The city manager listened to your concerns. He does have a partial response. and I can help too.
Can the chief take a seat?
Do you,
Well,
please.
Could I ask the chief another question, please?
Sure.
Okay.
When the police station at its present location opened, we all heard it was too small the minute the doors got unlocked.
Yes.
Will this new facility meet the needs of the police department? How far into the future?
At least 50 years, and there is a plan that we've talked to the architect for the 50-year plus, if there's an expansion needed. So any project that I'm ever involved in, no one is ever going to get left with what I was, and I'm not knocking my predecessors, but there'll be a plan, like, okay, if the expansion is required, here's Plan A and Plan B. But we're looking at least 50 years for this.
Okay. Because I know that we need a new police station, and I've lived here all of my life. And I'm also disappointed with some of the comments here tonight. I love the city of Norwich. I choose to stay here. I don't have to. I could live anywhere in Eastern Connecticut. But I choose to live here, and I do the work that I do every day because I want to see Norwich thrive. And I think locating the police station downtown will bring new life to downtown Norwich.
You might want to, you can ask the planning director. We've had long-term discussions with her on what that it's done in other communities about revitalization and changing the character of downtown. I think that's a valid concern. Just to address your comments about the pride of Norwich, I'm proud of the men and women who are standing behind us tonight. They're here tonight. They're risking their lives at it's a tough job, and they're out there every night doing their thing, and supporting it. I'm sorry, it costs projects like this cost money, and the first role of government is provide for the common defense and promote the general welfare. I've heard that somewhere before. I'm not entirely sure, but provide for the common defense and promote the general welfare. That's the role of government. And sometimes I don't like spending money either. I'm probably the cheapest one in this room. Everyone makes fun of me because I do. I'm very cheap. I'm sorry. So I don't want to spend $1 more than I have to. My wife will call me cheap. So any chance I have to maximize things, there's a cost of not doing it, and sometimes you need the courage to try.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Do we have any estimate if we for whatever reason, in November of 2025, the taxpayers say no, what's the escalation?
Well, just let's go back to Mahan Drive. That was a $44 million project, not including the cost of the land acquisition. Now that has escalated in 2 construction seasons, $6 million. So that project has gone up $6 million in 2 years. That's real world. I'm not making it up. And believe it or not, I would never want to face this council or the citizens coming back for more money. So that's why it's the number. I gasped too when I heard it, but I know that number is survivable through the construction cycle.
Thank you, Chief.
City Manager, you have a response, please, for Alderwoman Hayes.
Yes, for Councilperson Hayes and the audience. And there is questions of why we're purchasing the property and not rolling it in to the whole bond issue. So the bond issue would be $49,800,000 or something like that, including the land. The reason is that the first offer on the land was about $1.4 million. We were able to negotiate it down to $800,000, but the bank needs to have that purchase completed by the end of December, so they may be able to take the difference between the value of the building at 1.4 and the sale price of $800,000 and take that as a tax deductible situation for the bank. After the 31st, that goes away for this year. So to take advantage of the good price that we believe we have at $800,000, we've done something a little unorthodox, which is acquire the property before you do the whole bond issue. Remember, the entire bond issue for the project will be subject to many public hearings and ultimately a vote. What we're doing tonight is within the council's purview. It's $800,000 to acquire the property, to enhance our chances for grants, to receive a good price on the property that could go away at the end of this month. So there was no way that we could do a referendum by the end of December. So we took the initiative to make it available under the bonding capabilities of the council to get it done quickly and save ultimately the taxpayers' money in acquiring the building. I hope that answers.
You have
Well,
the floor.
Right, so you've probably have answered the question as to why we're doing this by December 31st. I'm hoping that the audience will appreciate that. But the real question is, yes, you said it was $1 million for, I heard Ms. Philbrick say it was appraised at 1.7. So even at worst case scenario, if we waited to see whether the voters would approve a referendum and the building was 1.7, let's go with the appraised value, and that's what we would end up paying, but the voters would know that that's what the price of the building is, and this is what the cost of the project is going to be. The question is other than them wanting to take the advantage of the tax, I don't know if they call it write-off, tax, okay. Is that property in jeopardy of being sold January of 2025 and out of the hands of the city being able to acquire it or negotiate another price in 2025? That's what I said, I'm trying to, I really have debated this, and I've talked to people, and people have talked to me. It's about the building. It's not what the purpose is, not wanting to support a new police station. The building of it is, why are we purchasing a building at $800,000 today when we don't know what the voters are going to approve a year from now? And if they don't approve it, then we have a building. And I'm not trying to be negative about it, because I'm really hoping the voters will support a new police station. But I've heard so many years that we are not good stewards of property that we own when what we plan for that building falls through the cracks.
May I think I can answer that other part of the question. I can't tell you that the building on January 1st is going to be sold by somebody else. I will tell you that they had an outstanding offer that did fall through from the bank that wasn't ours. So there's nothing to say that that won't be the case between now and when we want to go to referendum in a year from now. But if the bank is being offered more than $800,000, then they're going to have to make a business decision on that. So by locking it up now, we lock it up at $800,000. I feel very confident if the referendum unfortunately fails on the total amount, that the city will be able to redevelop that piece. It's an attractive property, as some citizens out there said. It's an historic property in the middle of downtown, a beautiful building. And I'll just give you this example if you're doubtful that we could pull that off. I'll give you the example of the YMCA. Well, we're redeveloping that now. It should be complete sometime next year. and the Read and Use, sitting fallow for 25 years. We took it over. We went out to RFP on it, and we were successful, the first to be successful at developing the buildings. Those were two buildings that had much more negative aspects to them than this building, which is in relatively good shape. So I welcome that opportunity to control that building and have it fit into the downtown redevelopment, and then we have the control over it and the ability to develop it in the best way for the downtown. So it gives us another possibility on that. Thank you.
Alderwoman Hayes, you still have the floor.
I thank you, and I appreciate that explanation. I'll also give you the other arguments that I heard from residents and taxpayers, is that along with properties that we have seen newly developed, is that we are giving out tax credits. And I understand the value of tax credits, and I'm not saying the individuals didn't understand it, but again, you're asking property owners to pay for property and higher taxes when you're giving developers 7 years, 10 years, maybe upward of tax credits, and then the property comes on board to pay taxes at some future date. I'm adding to what you heard this evening, which is, so if some of you don't think I don't go out and I don't talk to people, or people don't call me, they call me. These are all the questions, these are all the concerns that got fielded that I spent my holiday weekend having to deal with. And I listened to them, and as I've listened to the people this evening, I feel that some of them, many of them are valid concerns. Because, as you said, we've held on to property for 25 years, and now something is happening. We held on to another property, and and when you talk about the YMCA, we went and got the brownfield money from the state, and it's a private corporation who's developing it. But again, it sat there for how many years? And I realized that that was owned by a bank, by a financial institution for all those years. They couldn't sell it. And I'm not saying that owning the piece of property may not be to the advantage of the city. It's at what cost to the taxpayers, to the property owners. That's the question that is being asked. And I want to make that clear and separate it out from the police department, because I 100% support that we need a new police station. The question is this particular property today, to purchase it for $800,000 and asking the taxpayers, because there's another one coming behind this one. It may be a small amount, but every time what I'm hearing is you're asking for taxpayers to pay another percentage. You're asking them to pay another additional tax or an increase, and they've said when's enough is enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Alderwoman Gould, you had your hand earlier, again.
Well, I was going to ask if Chief Daley wanted to sit down, and if we have the Director of Planning and Neighborhood Services here, if she had anything that she would like to add to this conversation.
Deanna Rhodes, Director of Planning and Neighborhood Services, City of Norwich. I just wanted to let you know that over the last few years, Pat Daly, Chief of Police, has come into our office to talk about multiple properties throughout the city that they were considering. And our office honestly reviewed all of them and was very much in support of this location downtown. It's appropriate for them, it's the right size, it's a really great visual presence. Many communities in Connecticut, and that was mentioned earlier, have benefited with having a police department in the downtown, especially, for example, Middletown, Connecticut. Once our police department was moved downtown, restaurant was built right next to it. All their restaurant and businesses thrived, and it's still thriving. We see that as a vision for downtown Norwich. We think that having the police presence there, we often hear, and I'm sure you do as well, as people are fearful about walking downtown at night, and they just don't feel safe, and for many other reasons. And I think having that visual presence is so important. But it's a beautiful building. It's a historic building. Having it reused, adaptively used this way is wonderful. Like the city manager was saying, we control our own destiny, even if we don't, if things don't work out next November. Our department, especially since I've been here in the last 8.5 years, has taken really a heavy hand on making sure that the municipal properties we own, that we either dispose of them if we don't need them, or we maintain them, or we decide what we're going to do with them, if there's any future municipal use of why we should hold on to them. We've been very successful. 80 Broadway, which is across the street, was successfully turned into a restaurant, was sitting after Human Services moved out, and that was a very vibrant restaurant that was created there. Maybe not as vibrant now, but I think it can be that way again. The Reed and Hughes, that building is going to be lovely, and if you can drive by now, you'll see that they're taking advantage of historic tax credits to make that building beautiful again. And again, John Salamone mentioned the YMCA. I mean, how many years did that sit there? And that's going to be an amazing facility with, offices there and retail and housing. And it's just was completely cleaned up from hazardous materials. This building is not only attractive, I think it's so important to preserve and, to make sure that we have a user in there, if not the city, that's going to be appropriate. And by having an RFP process, a request for proposal process, we do that. We can ask for the highest and best use to go there and control the destiny of that building. In this particular case, we can't do that with all the buildings that we love in the city, but it just happens to work really well for the police department, and our department 100% supports this proposal.
Thank
you very much. Actually, not for...
But I'm sorry, Pro Tem did have his hand up. Joe? You?
Well, I don't have a question for
Sorry.
Deanna, so if somebody else does, they can go.
Thank you.
Not for Deanna.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so then.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So, there's a saying I heard once, I don't remember where I heard it, but, I think we're wasting time arguing over the peas and carrots while the steak goes cold. The bottom line is, we're buying this building for 60 cents on a dollar. If we wait 30 days from today, on January 2nd, that building's $1.4 million. And Chelsea Bank's I can't speak for them, but they're not going to be as flexible about, being generous to the city, because really it's what it is. Their generosity, which has been long-standing, literally for generations in this city, okay, is coming to bear again. Where, yes, as a corporation, they have a business interest that they need to protect. And they looked at it and said, can we do this for the city and also do what's in the best interest of the bank? And the answer to that question is yes, but it needs to happen now. Not 30 days from now, not 6 months from now, not a year from now while we mull this over and it's ready to go to referendum as a full package, because frankly, when you look at the other alternatives, there are not that many choices, right? The Buckingham Elementary property is a perfect example. City already owns it. It is a bit of a challenging site, but
it's another $8 million to build the same building there from scratch that we will end up with if we do this project over here. I'd have difficulty saying yes to that, spend an extra $8 million just so that we don't buy this building right now. That's a 10-to-1 loss. How could any of us justify that? If we did that, then you would have reason to stand at that podium and call us names and tell us that we're shameful and irresponsible. But this is as close to a no-brainer as we can get. 60 cents on the dollar for a major piece of important architecture right smack dab in the middle of our downtown, which, by the way, you, the public, told us multiple times is where you want the police headquarters to be. So now that we're being responsive to the will of the people, and because of the work of staff, we're doing it on the cheap, really. Now all of a sudden, it's not a good idea anymore? Stop, right? We need to do this. We need to own this building, because at the end of the day, if you, the voters, say no to the $49 million, we'll turn around and sell the building, and we'll make a profit. Can't lose. So I'll be voting yes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Alderman Nash.
I look at this a little differently than some of the others. And you know, some of the comments made tonight is kind of disturbing in the fact that I've been through several budgets sitting up here, and most of them I voted no to because they did raise taxes and they did cause us distress and stuff, because I understand what it's like to pay an extra $1 or $2 and stuff. So you can go look at my record. It's all on file. I voted many times no on the budget because it raised taxes. But at the same time, I have to look in hindsight. I joined the police department in early 1986. I was trained there. I moved here from the state of New Jersey in 1984, and I've lived here ever since. Raised 2 beautiful children. They both went to the schools here, and I still live here. I always tell everyone jokingly, it wasn't a city I was born in, but it will be a city I die in. And I mean that. I love this city. I love everything about this city. The ugly parts, the pretty parts, all the parts. And as a councilman, when I left the police department, ran for council after I opened the Harp and Dragon, I ran for the city council, and I wanted to be part of the community in a different way, where I could be responsible and have some say in how things are done here. And some of the things that we do kind of suck. I get it, the interaction back and forth between you and us up here. If we did have that kind of communication, we wouldn't get out of here till 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Let's be honest, because you'd all be fighting and arguing, we'd be debating and discussing all kinds of things. We didn't own the YMCA for over almost a decade and a half. We didn't own it. It was owned by the bank, and it was dilapidated. And people sitting in the audience would come and say, how dare you? How could you let that happen? You're irresponsible. You're idiots. You don't know what the people want. We had no control over it. The Reed and Hughes, we had no control over it for almost a decade. The Warregan had a wrecking ball in front of it until the 11th hour when this city council saved the building. The skating rink was out the door until the 2 of us sitting up here still today from that forced them to take it and go outside and get an outside vendor to come in and retake the thing. And now it's successful. Okay? We're not idiots. We all live in the same community you do. We pay the same taxes you do. Our taxes go up just like yours does. You think we vote for our own taxes to go up? It's insane to think that way. You want to talk to me? I got an email, a cell phone, call. I'll talk to you. I'll meet you. I had meetings, but nobody attended. I had meet the councilman, and I would go to fire departments and restaurants, and nobody showed up except a few people. Joanne was one of my favorites. Okay? And yes, Joanne and I argue a lot, but I love the woman like my mother. But that doesn't mean we have to agree on everything. I don't want that building to go to somebody else, or worst case scenario, it doesn't go to nobody else, and it's a boarded up thing. What is that noise? Oh. It's a boarded-up building, and then we have to listen to your criticism about how you let the building go, and it's your fault, and it's irresponsible, and you don't belong up here, don't knock on my door, I'm not voting for you. Listen, I don't know what to say. I sit up here every single time, and I talk to my members in my community, and I listen to what they say. Like I was talking about budgets. 3 people showed up at budget hearings, people. 3 of you. And you want to complain about your taxes going up, but nobody was here. I didn't get emails from people complaining about the budget. But you want to come now and chastise us. Your taxes went up. It had little to do with the city council. It was the reevaluation. It had nothing to do with us. I didn't raise your taxes. This council didn't raise your taxes. The reevaluation raised your taxes. So you want to look at it as a tax increase, yeah, you got a tax increase, but your property's also worth more. I don't know what to say. I'm not going to vote no for this because I don't want that building to become boarded up. Or worst case, we don't have control who goes in there. And you get some, and I hate to say this because I'm a Republican, we all know how, but I'm a welfare child, grew up on welfare. The last thing we need is another social service organization in downtown Norwich, in a historic building. I'm not saying that's what's going there, but you're rolling the dice on it. And I also remember when we were voting on the police department last time, everyone was complaining that we didn't have a location. How can we vote on a police department? We have no location. What building are we going to build it in? You all complained about it. And then we didn't pass. Now we have a building. Worst case scenario, like Alderman DeLucia said, worst case, we're buying a $1.4 million or $1.7 million building for $800,000. And if we don't get the bond passed for the police department, we turn around, we control the building, we can now determine who goes in there. And we can try to get it to the best bidder. Because it is a historic building. It's a beautiful building. I've been in there. I walked there when the police gave us the tour. But I came on the department in '86 and the building was too small over there. We didn't have enough room to grow then. And when I came in, I was badge 55, the last patrolman at the time. 55 patrolmen. Pat, how many we got now?
Supposed to be 87.
55, and it was too small then. So I'm an emotional person. I'm sorry. I know I'm supposed to be a Republican and supposed to stand here all stoic and everything like that, but I'm sorry. Facts are facts, but my emotions run wild sometimes too. And I love this city. And I'll tell you another thing. Someone came up and said, what's going in our pocket? You know what's going in my pocket? $92 a month. And I spend most of that going to events in the city. That's what I get paid. I get no kickback from anything. And if any of you do, I'm going to be pissed off because why am I not involved? So that's all I got to say. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Singh.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. My question will be for City Manager or Josh, whoever can answer. Of course, I do appreciate Chelsea Gorton being generous because the way I look at it is it will help us for 3 years with the tax impact on debt service and the tax impact on the carrying cost, which is almost $220,000 per year. The question here is because as I read the report, and we did get the email as well, so at this point, our AA ratings look stable. Do you think with these we have ability to absorb this $220,000 without impacting our AA rating?
The initiation of this bond issue should not change our rating. The key to our ratings is to keep our reserves stable, and that's what we should strive to do. But this bond issue in itself, and you know, we're grossing it out. We're not even talking about the net because we don't know exactly what that will be tonight. But we're hopeful that it's appreciable less than the 49 million. Just like the schools are 385 million, but the state is paying 80% of that cost for eligible building costs. So the numbers seem higher than the actual numbers that we spend.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Gould.
One last comment. The people here tonight spoke about, Norwich is all of those negative terms that I can't even repeat because the ire in my throat. You want a lovely city, you want a beautiful city, you want an active city, you want a vibrant city. It costs money. We want new schools. They don't magically appear. They cost money to build new schools. And why is it so much money? Because every time we thought about doing a new school, it's, oh, it's too much money. It costs too much money, it costs too much money, it costs too much money. We keep kicking these cans all down the road, and then when there's it implodes, then we have to do this. The men and women of the Norwich Police Department, you want the best police department here, right? Do the men and women of the Norwich Police Department deserve to work in a building? We're not building the Taj Mahal for them. We're building a building so that they can do their work. Just the same way we get new police cars, and everybody's, oh, a new police car. They're driving around in that police car 24 hours a day, 365 days a year to protect all of us, to make sure that we're all right, to respond to lockouts. Now, not even the major accidents, to respond to, I have a flat tire. Something's going wrong with my car. My dog got out. And then they come to all of our emergencies. And maybe you haven't had to call the police department because you haven't had an emergency. But they deserve, like our children deserve, to be in buildings that work for them. We need a building that works for the police department. That building on Thames Street is a nice building, but it doesn't work for the police department. And if we're going to attract officers for our public safety, then we have to offer a building that at least they get a locker when they walk in the door. So I will be voting yes for this because this is a business decision. And you, the taxpayers, the voters, in November will also make a business decision on whether or not you are willing to support the Norwich Police Department to give them the tool. The biggest tool that they need is a place to do their work. And you will decide in November if you want to give them that tool. You will make that business decision. But we cannot continually keep saying, oh, never mind, put it on the shelf, put it on the shelf, put it on the shelf. We did all this work, put it on the shelf. It's time now for action. So I will be supporting this 100%. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? My quick 2 cents. This discussion began when the president of the bank called me last October and asked if the city would consider that as a site for police station. And I said to Tony, I wish you'd called me 9 months earlier, because it certainly would have been a better timing. Others have said it, but the fact is, this building is an historic building, and there was another buyer. They actually had a 90-day option on it. They couldn't come up with the money, so the option was withdrawn. It was a social service agency that was looking to take and acquire that building, and quite frankly, I'm going to repeat what was already said. I'll say it differently. Downtown is for commerce, retail, and business. It's not for social services. It doesn't mean there's not a place for them, but you don't take a building of that size, that level of investment, and turn it into social services. That's not the highest and best use of that property, because taxes will come off. It's about $59,000 collected if the police station goes there. That's another thing you need to know about. But the fact of the matter is, I think the investment that will further be spurred by a strong police presence downtown will far outweigh any loss at that level. I've seen it in Middletown. I've seen it in so many other cities and towns. And I'm going to say thank you to this council. Others wanted to disparage them tonight, but I'm going to say thank you, because for the last 5 years, this council and the one before this has had the guts to take charge of properties, see that they get invested, see that they get on the tax rolls, and that's exactly what's happening in downtown. The YMCA, the Reed and Hughes, Those 42 market rate apartments, that building, how many years was that empty? Well, it's not anymore. They all have COs for occupancy. We're putting properties back on the tax rolls. We just took control of the Marina Towers. We already got the money to do what we need to do with that. We'll just tear that old building down and clean up that property. Less than a year, and we have the funds to do that already. That's because this council had the nerve to take charge and direct the future of this city. And that's what we need to do. We need a new police station. The design will allow for 39 parking spaces. I'm going to get little details for public edification. That will be parking under the new addition. It's in keeping with the addition that was added under Ed Regetz, God bless his soul, who was the president of the bank in the 80s, when they expanded that bank. It will accommodate the needs of our police well into the future, well before and after I'm dead and buried. And that's what we're supposed to do, have a better life for the people in this community and those that will follow us. So I'm voting yes, too. And if there's no further comment, any other hands? I don't want to cut anybody off. Go ahead.
Quick thing, just that there is also additional parking across the street on the, on the.
The bank property comes with 3 additional parking lots up Arcadia Street. There's 52 publicly owned parking sites across the street. Plans call for expansion of the parking on Cliff Street up to, I believe, 20 spaces are there. You don't need to build a garage is what I'm getting at. The new addition actually acts as a shelter for the police vehicles, which is something that have always been pointed out as important, so that the life use of those vehicles would be extended as well. Thank you for that. If there's no other comment, roll call, please. And just for the public record, this only passes with 5 or more votes, and so the public knows that as well. And that's by charter.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Hayes?
No.
Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes.
Ekstrom?
Yes. The ordinance is adopted on a 6-1 vote.
Why couldn't we have had transparency like we just had from you about the building?
What was, I didn't hear you, ma'am. What did you say?
Had transparency on the building, that you were able to purchase or, get this building for $800,000 instead of $1.7. Why didn't you just come out in the beginning and give us all the figures and say this from the beginning?
Petition and communication number 1, report from the Commission on the City Plan of the City of Norwich pursuant to Section 8-24, the General Statutes, Chapter X5, Section 4 of the Norwich City Charter, and ordinance appropriating $3,700,000 for the cost of planning, design, and construction of the West Town Street Main Rehabilitation Project in the City of Norwich, and authorizing the issuance of $3,700,000 revenue bonds of the city secured solely by the water revenue to meet said appropriation, and authorizing the city and the Department of Public Utilities to enter into grant and loan agreements and a joint resolution with the state of Connecticut with respect thereto.
Thank you. A motion, please, for this report to be received. Alderwoman Gould, second, please. Alderman Singh. Is there no discussion? A roll call, please.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Hayes?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia? Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Thank you. The matter is received. Vote is 7-0.
Number 2, report from the Commission on City Plan of the City of Norwich pursuant to Section 8-24 of the General Statutes, Chapter 15, Section 4 of the Norwich City Charter, an ordinance appropriating $7,500,000 for the cost of the planning, design, and construction of the Norwich Town Well PFAS treatment system, authorizing issuance of $7,500,000 revenue bonds of the City of Norwich secured solely by the water revenue to meet said appropriation, and authorizing the city and the Department of Public Utilities to enter into grant and loan agreements and a joint resolution with the state of Connecticut with respect thereto.
Thank you. A motion, please, to be received. Alderwoman Gould, second. Alderman Bettencourt. Is there discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Hayes?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Thank you. The matter is received. Vote is 7-0.
Number 3, report from the Commission on City Plan of the City of Norwich pursuant to Section 8-24 of the General Statutes and Chapter 15, Section 4 of the Norwich City, an ordinance appropriating $2,400,000 for the cost of the planning, design, and construction of the Route 2 pipe replacement project, authorizing the issuance of $2,400,000 revenue bonds of the City of Norwich secured solely by water revenue to meet said appropriation, and authorizing the city and the Department of Public Utilities to enter into grant and loan agreements and a joint resolution with the state of Connecticut with respect thereto.
Thank you. A motion that it be received. Alderman Singh, second. Alderwoman Gould. Is there discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Hayes?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt? Yes. Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Thank you. The motion is adopted and received. Vote 7-0.
Number 4, report from the Commission on City Plan of the City of Norwich pursuant to Section 8-24 of the General Statutes, Chapter 15, Section 4 of the Norwich City Charter, an ordinance appropriating $800,000 for the purchase of land and existing buildings located within the City of Norwich and authorizing the issue of $800,000 bonds of the city to meet said appropriation, and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose.
Motion, please, that this be received. Alderwoman Gould, second. Alderman Singh. Seeing no discussion, roll call.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Hayes?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Thank you. The matter is received. The vote is 7-0.
Number 5, reference to the proposed bond ordinance for purchase of downtown Chelsea Groton bank properties.
Motion, Alderwoman Gould, second. Alderman Singh. Is there discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Hayes?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Thank you. The matter is received. The vote is 7-0.
Number 6, reference to an explanation of proposed ordinance amending the Volunteer Firefighters Relief Fund Plan.
Motion this be received. Alderman Nash, second. Alderwoman Gould. Is there discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Hayes?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
The matter is received. The vote is 7-0.
City Managers Report?
Thank you. This is the city manager's report for December 2nd, 2024. Meetings attended were Southeastern Council of Governments meeting, Board of Directors meeting, Southeastern Area Transit, Connecticut Interlocal Risk Management Agency Investment Committee, Southeastern Connecticut Enterprise Region Annual Meeting, NCDC Executive Board of Directors Meeting, NPU City Coordination Meeting, Jubilee Park Coordination Meeting, and S&P Bond Rating Call and Department Head Meeting. The S&P has affirmed the city's AA rating with a stable outlook. Our controller, Josh Partha, has shared this information with the council. S&P warns that they could lower the rating in Norwich if reserves decline, either due to budgetary imbalance or a one-time drawdown. The rating could also come under pressure from material weakening of the city's income and wealth levels or budgetary pressures from additional debt issues, including the planned issuance of school construction and wastewater facilities. In order to be considered for an upgrade, the city would need to substantially improve its reserves, general fund, undesignated fund balance, and wealth and income levels. It is extremely important for the city to at least maintain its current fund balance levels and fund balance policy in order to keep the AA rating. I also attended a meeting regarding the warming center that was brought up during the public comment at the last city council meeting. The city is partnering with TVCCA, Hartford Healthcare, and other members of the state's Coordinated Access Network to support an emergency-only warming station for when the governor declares a cold weather emergency. This is in response to the current and unprecedented number of unsheltered people in Norwich. An identified location is being vetted by all relevant city departments, and an operational proposal from the TVCCA is due today. Alderman Hayes and Alderman Singh were also in attendance. The Norwich Fire Department, in alignment with the state Connecticut DEEP, has rescinded its burn ban for the city. Reminders of the city's tax sale on December 4th at 9:30 a.m. in room 335. Information about the sale and list of the properties is available on ctttaxsales.com. There were 43 accounts, but several have been paid. The 33rd Light Up City Hall will be held on Friday, December 6th from 5 to 6 p.m. at City Hall Plaza, followed by the Tommy Toy Fun Run. The Norwich Events Organization will host the city's light parade on Saturday, December 7th. And that concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you, John. I'm going to comment on the meetings with the Warming Center. I also attended, and I also spoke with Mrs. Jane Cable, who basically represents the Civil War organization that is listed as the owner of the Buckingham Memorial. She has given the city the go-ahead, and I know that Public Works has inspected the facility at that level in the building, which is the basement, and there is some repairs necessary as far as the bathrooms and what level of operation will be there as far as the kitchen goes. But that is, in fact, where that stands at this point in time. I'd also point out that on Saturday, December 7th, it's the Pearl Harbor Day Memorial Program. We'll be hosting it here in this room at 10 o'clock. And I would like to invite members of the public and anyone else who's able to attend. We will be honoring once again the Carlson and Cordo families who lost members during that extreme conflict at Pearl Harbor. Do members have questions at this time? Alderman Nash.
I have a quick question regarding the warming center. Is the people up on the soup kitchen up on the hill, what's
St. Vincent de Paul Place.
they're involved in this?
Yes, Jill is part of the consortium of people meeting as well.
Why aren't we using that school as a warming center?
There's a local neighborhood agreement. Housing is not permitted there overnight in that facility.
City requires.
That's fine. I
The city
just want to make sure,
requires.
that's all I'm asking.
They're all at the table, absolutely. Other questions, City Mayor? Yes, Alderwoman Hayes.
Just one, to the city manager. I believe Hartford Healthcare has reached out about a meeting to follow up my portion from the warming center.
Yes,
Okay, I don't know if you've responded.
not yet.
Thank you. Other concerns, statements? Okay, thank you very much.
Citizen comment on resolutions on agenda items only.
Thank you. At this time, I declare the citizen comment on the resolutions on agenda to be open at this time. If you wish to address the council on one of the three resolutions before us, again, please state your name and address at the dais. Thank you. Anyone, please, Sam. Please, okay. Mrs. Filbert.
My name is still Joanne Philbrick, and I still live at 10 Elm Avenue, and I'm still so sad and so frustrated and so pissed off. I don't need to come here and be chastised by you. Joe, I'm going to point you out right now.
Excuse me, you're talking on one of the three resolutions?
Yes, I am. This is my segue. I've listened
No
to...
segue and no more insulting members.
You
Please. And I answered your questions for 40 minutes this afternoon, but what did you tell the public tonight? That nobody answered your questions?
Because you didn't answer my question.
You just didn't like the answers.
All right, so I will go. Number one, another project where you're going to request CIF funds for another fantasy project. How much is this one going to cost? My favorite, relative to amending the rules and procedures. The truth is, ladies and gentlemen, is you don't care what we say. You don't. You don't. We can be annoying. Yes, we can. But that's our right. Not one of, Stacy's looking at me, Mark's looking at me. This one sits with his arms folded. We have a communication problem in this city, ladies and gentlemen. We have had it for 20 years. You might as well just cancel these meetings because you don't listen. You don't want to hear anything except what strokes the ego, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, which goes to resolution number 3. You're going to limit, my green light is flashing already, you're going to limit audience participation. I give up. You have broken me. You have destroyed me.
Don't give in.
You have destroyed me. Thank you. Thank you for making my last years on this planet a living hell. I just can't anymore. And I know, Joe, now what you felt like when you were opposed to the fire issues and you were scared, a grown man, to go to your vehicle alone. I feel scared now leaving this building because there's a target on my back. I support the police department. I do not support spending and spending and spending and spending and spending and spending. Unbelievable.
Thank you. Sam, please.
May I comment on new business ordinances? Is that,
No.
may I,
It's not before us.
may I request an exemption? And the reason why is if I, otherwise, it will put back something which is needed potentially 2 weeks, and I don't want to spring this on anyone.
Sam, you served on this council. You know the procedure. New business ordinances must be raised for public hearing. Public comment must then be recorded and preserved for posterity and for the public record. We cannot comment on an ordinance that's not before us yet, that has not been raised.
Okay. I was going to recommend something that was going to take a couple weeks. That was the reason for my requesting indulgence, but I understand.
We'll call you, I'll sit down with you, talk beforehand, whatever you want. Make myself available.
But this, just send me an email when the nearest available time to discuss this.
Absolutely. Look forward to it.
Is it the next council meeting?
No, before that.
To talk about it on the record, so next
Well,
available
then
council
it would
meeting?
be, well, when the date is established tonight, you'll have the date.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Can anyone else like to speak on the resolutions before us, please, at this time? 1 through 3. Please.
Pietro Camardella, 79 Lambert Drive. Still under duress and not agreeing with your bullying. Regarding relative to amending the rules of procedure, did I miss something? What is the amendment? What are the new, what's proposed? Number 3, what's proposed?
There's a draft that was posted on the board for the public to review, and we'll be discussing it tonight.
Okay. If somebody else would like to speak so I can read the draft, I wasn't aware that there's a draft. It wasn't on the table where this was.
No, it's on the bulletin board on the right side where they're all posted ahead of time for every meeting.
Okay.
Would anyone else like to address the council on the 3 resolutions before us at this time?
Director of Planning and Neighborhood Services, I just respectfully request that you support the resolution about the CIF application for the Norwich State Hospital. It's a planning grant of $250,000. There's no matching fund required by the city. We have expended EPA money previously that the city had to do some soils testing out there and some not any remediation, but some brownfields assessment. And it's time for us to consider what that potential for that site could be in the future. And we're working on the zoning regulations for the community right now. And what comes out of this planning study would help us guide what the regulations should state for potential uses in the future there. So I'd appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, anyone else like to address the council on the resolution? Yes, sir. Rodney, please.
So I'm reading here very quickly. Any person failing to provide his or her name?
Excuse me. I will get back to you. Rodney was just
Oh, I'm sorry.
acknowledged. You were coming in. You
thought you
didn't
said
see it.
Rocky.
No, I said Rodney.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I apologize. That's okay.
Good evening, Rodney Boyce, 62 Roosevelt Avenue. I appeared before the council 30 years ago about Norwich State Hospital. At that time, I told them to stay away from it. I've been all over that property over there. Stay away from it, I'm telling you now. There's several beat-up buildings over there, and the property itself is quite deteriorated. I myself once thought about rebuilding that whole area. I'm a landlord. But I don't see the city getting involved in any of this stuff. The state has had this property for the past 50 years, and it's been totally dysfunctional. The area has water, sewer, and all these other kinds of things. It could have been developed very easily 50 years ago, but leave it alone now. Let the state mess with it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Again, anyone else like to speak? Please.
Just very quickly, I got a chance to read it. You can amend whatever you want. You know, when I spoke earlier, I thought maybe I'll sell my house. Maybe just as what this transpired, maybe I'll run for city council again. Because you guys, you really don't listen. You don't represent us. We need a new police station. We love the city. We love the history. We love the architecture. We just can't afford to pay more taxes. If you don't know what you're doing, step out, resign, don't run again.
You speaking to a resolution?
Yes.
Please do so.
The resolution that demands us to express what we don't wish to do, it's not because I'm afraid, it's my choice. Fourth Amendment, freedom of speech, First Amendment must be obeyed. You are not gods, you're not kings. You're not barons. Yeah, shake your hand and make little faces, Miss Stacy. Go ahead. Make a look. Yeah, sure. It's my opinion. I'm entitled to it, whether you laugh at me or not. I'm entitled to what I wish to say. I do not wish to disclose by demanding because you are not enforcing any laws. You still don't get it. So maybe I'll have to run for council again and again. We'll see you next month. You're going to approve this abomination, and you don't understand. You're responsible for demanding of us that which you don't want to. Do we know your addresses?
Yes.
Do we know them?
It's listed on this website.
Your home address?
Phone numbers and all.
Okay. If somebody doesn't wish to disclose it, they shouldn't disclose it. That's all I'm saying. You're making people uncomfortable. Some people will not come here and speak because of this demanding, and you don't care.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone else wish to speak on the resolutions before us? Please, sir, go ahead.
You seem to be living in an illusion that what works in one area will work in another. I'm sorry, but that is clearly not the case. Just because one station works in Middletown does not constitute that it will work in...
We are not speaking to that issue. We have 3 resolutions. This part of the agenda allows people to speak on the resolutions before us.
I am speaking on the resolution, sir.
There's no resolution involving the police station at this time, sir.
Well, I'm just giving you facts, something you're obviously not used to hearing. What works for one city does not work for another. Now, I don't know where any of you are getting this illusion, but let me tell you something. I can get better jobs and better lives from the Three Stooges compared to the rest of you.
Sir, your comments are not in keeping with
And your
our rules at
disrespect to
this
me.
time.
No, you will not talk over me.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Let's do so.
Please gavel the gentleman from the podium. He is not speaking following our rules.
Sir, if you'd like to speak to one resolution dealing with a planning grant or the Norwich Golf Authority or the rules of procedure, please speak to those. Otherwise, you are out of order. There's a reason for rules so that a meeting can operate.
That's no surprise. Your whole council's out of order as far as I'm concerned.
Step away.
With leave of the council, does the planning director have the ability to address us again on the resolutions? Seeing no objection, go ahead.
Thank you, Deanna Rhodes, Director of Planning. I just wanted to clarify something that Mr. Bowie said, just so he is aware that the property is in private hands. It hasn't been owned by the state in a really long time. So the private owner has asked for assistance to help him with future development there and interest of other people of what that property could be. So that's why we're going for a planning study, so we can assist the current owners and any future owner with some of the ideas that might really work there. There is obviously lots of things concerning there. There's brownfields and other things, but we need to determine what uses could go there, because that will determine how much money it costs to clean up the property. So the $250,000 planning study, we would have a consultant work with the city to determine the highest and best uses that work and benefit all the citizens here, and hopefully find a user that would pay taxes. So.
Thank you very much for the clarification. Again, would anyone like to address the city on any of the 3 resolutions at this time? Again, anyone like to address the city on the 3 resolutions at this time? Anyone like to address the city on the 3 resolutions at this time? Seeing no one else, I then declare that part of the meeting closed, and thank you all.
Number 1, relative to Round 6 CIF Planning Grant application for the former Norwich State Hospital properties at 628 and 705 Laurel Hill Road.
Thank you. A motion to bring this to the floor. Alderwoman Gould, second by Alderman Singh. Is there discussion? Alderman Nash.
Sitting on the committee that discussed this when the state tried to sell it to us for $1, which wound up being more like a couple of $1 million at the end of it all. And I remember us passing a very staunch no on the property. And I do realize now that the property is owned by somebody else. So how much are they up on the $250,000 that they're going to put towards this? Because I remember back when we did do this, that they were talking about $5 to $7 million to remediate just one of the buildings, and now I can't imagine that's less than 10 or 12 million now. So I'm not sure what stake the city has in investing in a private industry that bought that property, and now they want us to come in and evaluate it. Where's their fiduciary responsibility?
It's not the same thing.
What's not the same thing?
The property is privately owned. The state, through the Community Investment Fund, has agreed that they would like to consider this application to assist the private owner He himself, I believe, purchased the property somewhere around $343,000 at the time when he purchased it. He bought it, COVID came around, like many other things, development stalled. There were previous meetings in this very building with hotel chains. I met with Carl Castano, he's the owner, it's part of the public record. He has been talking with the planning department to help move the property forward. He did invest in it, he pays his taxes. This is a taxable property. The state is willing to consider this grant to help determine the highest and best use of this property and its cleanup costs as well. And that's why the application is here. The city is not buying this property. It's still privately owned. They're willing to consider the application.
The 250 is not ours.
No, it's
okay.
part of the Community Investment Fund.
For that, thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions? Yes, Alderwoman Hayes.
Only because I was not aware until listening to you. So the current property owners are not the original owners that took over the property?
He is the only person that purchased it from the state. He had a representative who was there for a couple years, who failed to develop a marketing plan and development plan, and then he, through legal means, acquired full control of his property. There's only one owner of this property since the state sold it, same person.
So there's no minority owners, because there were some minority investors, not owners. There were some minority investors.
I'm not aware of that. I only know Carl Castano.
Okay, well,
I'm sorry.
there were some minority investors, and so when you say he's the only owner, and it's not going to change for tonight. I'm just saying, I'm trying to just understand where we're at with who is the owner and who we're dealing with, but just be mindful. I think we need to confirm whether there are still minority investors or not.
I'll be happy to ask questions. Thank you. Mike, you had a? Okay. Are there other questions, concerns? If not, a roll call, please.
Yes.
Alderwoman Hayes.
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt.
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould.
Yes.
Alderman Singh.
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia.
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom.
Yes. Thank you. The resolution adopted 7-0.
Number 2, relative to the Norwich Golf Course Authority being authorized to expend up to $1,611,896,000.69 during the calendar year 2025, utilizing revenues received from operations and other available funds.
A motion, please, to bring it. Alderwoman Gould, second. Alderman Nash. Is there discussion? Yes, President Pro Tem, please.
I just wonder if the members of the Golf Authority who are present here tonight would like to come to the podium and share any information before we vote.
Good evening again. My name is Todd Postler, 53 Sherwood Lane. Next to me is Bob Maloff. I am the chairman of the Budget Committee. Bob is the chairman of the authority. So I didn't know if you had any specific questions. I can give you a quick overrun. I think the most important thing is, since the city obtained this property in 1978, is my understanding that the operations and revenue have covered all the expenses, and that's the same thing tonight. So you might look and say, okay, look a little bit of math and say, well, you're asking to spend 1.6 million, but you're taking in 1.5 million in revenue. However, when you look at the depreciation in loans, it actually ends up being a $10,000 surplus. So tonight we're asking, as we do every year, to look at the budget and allow us to spend the expenditure. I am willing to answer any questions. I know it's been a long night, so I don't want to, I've been on that side of the aisle, and I know I can certainly talk a little bit here, but I'll take any of your questions.
Thank you. Members?
The Norwich Golf Course is a gem.
It is, and if I can say something that Bob said last year, because he shared with me, is our job is to be stewards of the asset. And if we get to a situation where we have to come before the city to operate the golf course, we should all be replaced and the golf course should be sold. And that should never happen.
I do want to be clear on one point with that, and I did make this point last year. Joe and I discussed it after the meeting was over. We're talking about operating revenue. We're talking about operating the day-to-day operations of the golf course. I'm not going to stand before you tonight and tell you that we're not going to be back at some point asking you for capital funds. It's a city asset, and there are going to be things coming forward, and I know I spoke to the city manager about this. We're going to have a problem with a couple of major projects that we just, with the revenue we bring in annually, we're just not going to be able to afford to do it. And we'll be discussing that down the road at some point. I know we're looking at possible grant money, either from the state or federal government to help us out. But certainly, I said it last year, and Todd concurs. I mean, if we can't operate the golf course on what we bring in revenue, then we shouldn't be doing it.
Pro Tem?
So as explained to me by Attorney Driscoll, who's also a member of the Golf Authority, as you know, this action is more of, not to diminish it, but a housekeeping measure, because the ordinance that establishes the Golf Authority and the way that it is funded says that above a certain threshold, and $1.6 million is well above that threshold, the council needs to essentially approve the fact that you're going to spend the money that you took in. And that's really why we're here with this action item.
That is
tonight.
correct. We maybe not want to term it as something like that. We'd like to get our one night of glory before the city council, so.
Thank you, sir. Other questions? Alderman Singh?
Just quickly, so of course, I'm very thankful that it's breaking even and we don't have to chip in money like we are putting in some of the other things on an annual basis. But I don't really expect an answer at this point, but have you doing any more, what else could be done to kind of expand it, to make sure if we can get good return on our investment, then maybe city can look into further expansion as well? I don't know how much you talk in committee on those lines, or if there are any expansion plans, good plans that can be fiscally make us all happy.
Bob, do you want to address it? You've been around a little longer than I have.
Yeah, I mean, what we're looking at when I spoke about capital improvement projects, we have some things that we need to do on the clubhouse. I know in talking to John, one of the things we spoke about was the fact that our facility, the building, is actually a shelter. And we have some issues with regards to it being a shelter, where we have a 35-year-old HVAC system that is in grave need of upgrade and repair. We're kind of limping it along. We have a very good contractor that we work with annually to keep that thing going. So that's one of the things. Probably the most important thing is everybody wants to play golf on green grass. And in order for us to continue to create green grass, we're going to need a new irrigation system. Today, that project is probably price tagged at about $2.5 million. So there's no way we could, in 10 years, there's no way we could raise enough revenue beyond what it costs us to operate on a daily basis to pay for that project. So those are the kinds of things that I'm talking about when it comes to expansion and making it better. I just heard the other day from our pro that we're kind of looked at as the the pinnacle. If you want to talk about places like Connecticut National up in Putnam, Shanticosset in Groton, River Ridge up in Griswold, they're all looking to us to see what we're doing, because they all believe we're doing it right, and we don't want that to change. I mean, I took over last January for Barney Caulfield after 27 years of him being the chairman, and my goal is to make it better than it was when I took over. And with your help and with the folks on the authority's help, I see that as being a very viable possibility.
Thank you.
Yes. so-
Alderwoman Hayes?
Yes, thank you, and thank you for coming tonight, and I was the one asking some difficult questions last year, so I do understand. But what I would like to know, and maybe through the city manager, it could happen, is that there be, you come in with a presentation about, so we can see what your proposed capital improvements that you'd like to make, including some of the short-term ones that I know you're currently looking at in long-term, so we have a better understanding before budget season.
Well, I don't necessarily, I'm sorry, I don't necessarily think that we'll be looking for capital funds this year. We're pretty well set right now. Our budget will be what our budget is from an operational standpoint. But we'll certainly put something together similar to what we did for the bridge project. When we got the ARPA funds, we're not going to come to you and say, hey, listen, we need $4 million to do this project, and we're not going to tell you what the project is. We'll come in with project scope, with real numbers. They're not going to be numbers that are made up. As I say, similar to what it was with the bridge project.
My short term is 1 to 2 years out, and then, then looking at 3 to 5 years out.
Absolutely.
Is when I meant short term.
And that's within the realm of what we're talking about doing. There's a couple of projects, certainly not in 2025, but in 2026, 27, we're going to be looking to do.
Okay. Thank you.
We would love to come back and have that conversation with you.
Thank you. Other members this time?
Mayor, if I could, I would be remiss, we did mention about the bridge project. We can't think, yeah, it's done. So, but I thank this council for being able to find and use some ARPA money, which didn't come directly out of taxpayer money, to fund that capital project. It was a huge thing, and it was before my time being on the Golf Course Authority, but we do thank you very much for that. It was a good capital investment in an asset of this city.
Thank you. Okay.
I don't have to drive around the 10th anymore?
No, you can go over the bridge now.
You can use the bridge, and if you'd like to make a donation, we may even look at naming rights. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Todd.
Alderman Nash? Yes. Alderwoman Hayes?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes?
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Thank you. The resolution adopted 7-0.
Number 3, relative to amending the rules and procedures of 2325.
Motion, please, to bring it to the floor. Alderwoman Gould, is there a second? President Pro Tem, please. Is there a discussion? Alderman Bettencourt.
Question, what's different here than what we are doing right now, basically?
Nothing.
We're just codifying the,
Yes. Yes, President Pro Tem.
May respond to that question. The one difference is that we're codifying what has been an expectation until tonight. Okay, and if I could extend my comments.
Certainly.
I will say, I was not the only one that encouraged the mayor to put this resolution together, but I told him that I would completely support it for really 2 reasons. First is that I would say the kinder of the 2 reasons, and even the city manager made this comment as well. When people come to the podium, we don't know who everybody is, and valuable information comes to us through the podium. And it helps us to know who's speaking and where they're from, whether they live here in the city or whether they represent the city in some way. So just as an example, when Mr. LaRose stood up, if he were to identify himself by name and as general manager of Norwich Public Utilities, that would suffice. Not that none of us know who he is, but that would be helpful to us when a person comes to the podium to share information with us or to give criticism or critique or objection to something we're planning to do, whatever it might be. It's not about the message. It's about knowing who's at the podium so that we can respond accordingly, because as you've heard many times over the last several months, we do not respond during public comment because it would then be us taking up the public comment time, and that would be unfair. The second reason is because, and this is not as kind or maybe as friendly, because this chamber is not social media. You cannot anonymously come to that podium and say whatever you want and think that you will get traction with us. If you have information to share with this council, then you will do us the honor and give us the respect of identifying who you are and where you're from. And this change merely places it in our rules so that the expectation is now written down. And I am quite happy to say that I freely put my name on this resolution, and I intend to vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Alderman Bettencourt, I believe you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to support this because I think, people made a valid point, though, that, that if we're doing this procedure, then it probably should be codified somewhere, So I think that's a correct thing to do. So it's simple enough for me. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Yes, Alderwoman Hayes.
So in reading this, what we're saying, we're going to codify what we already say we practice, but there's another part in here. Are we going to, first of all, be consistent with everyone to ask them, because there are times it's been inconsistent, so I'm asking for consistency, not just codification. In the 3-minute rule, are we going to be consistent with the 3-minute rule? Again, this is part of the frustration. We put things in writing, and then we pick and choose when we enforce and when we don't enforce it.
The 3-minute rule, along with identifying the name and address, has been in practice in this chamber since the early 80s, and I was on those councils. And I'm happy to say that because I enjoyed that service all the way back then, too. This is just codifying it. You're pointing out correctly, sometimes people go beyond. If you're asking, will that not be permitted any further, at least while I'm in this chair, the answer is yes.
Okay. I'm just asking for consistency. I mean, it's one thing to say we're codifying it, but having it on paper and no enforce, and we're not going to enforce it consistently.
Very important. Thank you for putting that in the public record. Is Alderman Nash?
I'll throw my 2 cents in. Yeah, the consistency is the most important part of it. I do know, Mr. Mayor, you do allow people to go a little over, and sometimes I agree with your decision to let them continue a little bit because, the citizens do have things they want to say to us, but they also have the ability to contact us. It's very difficult for 7 of us to reach out to 40,000 citizens a month, a week, 6 months, a quarter. It's a lot easier for them to reach out to us if there's concerns, questions, or issues. And I do admit that the last couple of sessions that we've had here, I'm not going to say uncomfortable because I'm not a coward. I'll stand up to you if you wish, but it's been getting kind of aggressive in here. And I don't want to turn this into the national stage where we start calling people orange and mixed race and start calling people names because it's getting hostile in here. And we're all the neighbors. We're all neighbors. So if you want to contact us, Our names are on the website, our phone numbers are on the website, emails are on the website. It's tough for me to reach out to 37 to 40,000 people. I think it happens, my wife thinks I do when I go to the grocery store for 2.5 hours to pick up a gallon of milk, or to the gas station to get a few gallons of gas, and I'm there for 35, 40 minutes, gladly talking to citizens. And I enjoy that. That's why I ran for office, okay? So I think we really needed to put this down so there is no more questions. Here it is, black and white. You don't have to agree with it, but this is how the City Council of Norwich runs its meetings. And if you have anything additional you'd like to say to us, please feel free to reach out to us. And I don't know anybody here that won't respond. So I'll be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Hayes?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Thank you. The resolution adopted 7-0.
New business ordinance number 1, an ordinance amending sections 8-74 and 8-75 of Article 4 of the Chapter 8 of the Code of Ordinances pertaining to the Volunteer Firefighters Relief Fund Plan of the City of Norwich.
Thank you. At this time, I'd ask for a motion to raise this for public hearing, to waive the full text and reading of the ordinance at this time, and to schedule that for the 16th of December. Is there such a motion? Alderman Singh, second Alderwoman Gould. Roll call, please.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Hayes?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt? Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Thank you. The resolution to schedule the the motion to schedule the public hearing on this ordinance is adopted, 7-0. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Gould, second by Nash. Roll call.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Hayes?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes, thank you. The motion to adjourn is adopted, 7-0.